Good evening and welcome to the Kitchen Sink Podcast, the podcast where no topic is left behind. I'm Harry Stemple, a walrus who has escaped from the local zoo with some recording equipment. To my left is Jareth Turner, operated and voiced by Frank Oz, and to his right is Shay, a swarm of bees currently working together to fulfill their dream of wearing a shirt.
And what a lovely shirt it is.
It is a great shirt.
It's not bad.
We need to switch places.
The theme of tonight's show is introductions, appropriately enough, because this is our first show, so introductions are in order. Jareth?
What do you want me to introduce myself as? I could be anything I could want to be.
Yeah, you could, it's the magic of audio.
Oh.
Shay, you want to give it a go?
Buzz, 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 buzz.
Ah, wonderful.
I heard I was bees.
You are bees. You are nothing but bees.
I didn't know this until now. Well, apparently I'm bees.
Beneath the clothing, there is only bees.
Pesky bees.
Pesky bee. I don't know if that's like copyrighted like stuff.
Nah.
If I do it in a different voice. Pesky bee.
So tonight we're going to be talking about introductions. Everything is on the table. Introductions for film, introductions for games, books, music, TV, anything you can think of. If it introduces something else, we might talk about it. I'm not going to say word, that's a lot of stuff. So, tell you what.
We've done no research.
We have done zero research, yeah.
Which is completely opinionated and nothing is real. Nothing is true. We could be completely wrong about everything. But that's okay.
Yeah, okay.
We'll try.
Nice. I like it. There's a bit of a Zen philosophy there for us. Nothing is true. Everything will be okay.
But it's okay.
The more common way of saying that is just, we'll have a bash at it.
Yeah,
we're gonna wing it. We're gonna wing a podcast.
We'll give it a go. If it works out, it works out, and if not,
if it works out, we'll post it online.
no
If
pressure.
it doesn't, we'll pretend this never happened.
Exactly. Okay. That's how I get past most of my life at this point. So, not afraid to go dark in the first 10 minutes.
No.
We'll chalk it up to another character building experience.
Talking about introductions. Harry, what was the introduction to your existential crisis?
The introduction to my existential crisis was the realization that your grades at school don't matter.
Yeah, what's with that?
Yeah, that messed me up.
Yeah. It's like undue pressure for something which has really not too much impact, because thinking, oh my god, so much for GCSEs, I have to do so much, and now I've just squished all of that stress and pain and suffering into one line on a CV, saying that I can do math to a degree.
Yeah,
11.
A significant amount of stress heaped onto children whose brains are not ready for that kind of...
And nobody cares about actually seeing the certificates, and if you're... for most people, it's just squished down into one line.
Yeah, absolutely. I lie on my CV all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Mostly because I can't actually remember what my GCSE grades are.
I just say A to C, about 9 to... Sometimes I write 9 GCSE, sometimes I write 12 if I'm feeling fancy. I don't know how many I did.
If I'm counting the Ds.
Yeah, but you don't write that you get D, it's just A to C.
No.
I feel like I'm quite different to you then, because I do remember what I got. Not like each individual grade, but I remember like the number and what they were in general.
You're proud of that?
No, I just found an easier way to say it, and I keep getting asked at my job, like, "Sir, what did you get at GCSE?" Let's not worry about that.
We should mention that, for context, that Shay works in education now himself.
No, I just insist that everyone calls me sir everywhere I go.
Massive power trip.
She's just an egotist.
I was like, growing up I had to call all adults sir, so now everyone has to call me sir. That's how the world works.
A circle of life.
Shay, you want to go?
Sure. Okay, so I really like the introduction to Snatch, basically, because you've got the start of it, like the very, very start of it, where they're just these, like a group of Hasidic Jews walking through a jeweller's to pick up something, and then it turns into a heist. But what I really like is you get the title sequence immediately afterwards, and you've got that really cool song that I literally cannot remember the name of at all now, and it keeps like freezing and having the name of each character come up and like a different coloured background for each one. And it's just like a really nice way of introducing all the characters in a really quick... It's really efficient.
Oh, and you've got Jason Statham's voiceover coming over it as well, don't you?
Yeah.
Describing a little bit about each person.
Yeah, well, yeah, immediately after that you've got Jason Statham talking about how his parents met on a plane crash and that his name is Turkish because he's named after a plane crash.
Yeah. I really like that film. I forget how much I like that film.
It's a
until I
weird
see
one
it,
because
you know?
you think about it and you think, actually, that film's sort of fine. It's not great.
Yeah.
But then actually you realise that whenever you sit down and watch it, it's just really enjoyable.
It's really endearing, isn't it?
It is.
It's just really... it's a really charming film.
Yeah.
You can't help but like it.
It's a charming film in which someone defines the word nemesis
Yeah.
as a horrible cunt.
Yeah. We
Which is always endearing.
Yeah.
I always like
Not
the
horrible.
horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Sorry.
I always like when it's kind of like the actual story seems to break down for a moment and it gets really artistic when the hound's chasing the rabbit.
That does feel like a moment where
the
Guy
heron
Ritchie
scene.
goes, I want to be a filmmaker now.
Yeah.
I wrote a script, I pointed a camera at someone, but now I want to make a film. Can you hear the electricity working?
We can hear the electricity working. For the podcast listener, I have just gone to fetch my laptop charger, which doesn't work unless you can hear that slight crackle of quality electricity. That's how you can tell.
Finest kind.
So if it is picking up on the mic, which I seriously doubt it, that's just letting you know that everything's A-OK. The other thing that might be picking up on the mic every now and again is our studio audience of one. That's Amber, who is now leaving.
What a terrible audience.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll be introduced on another podcast. Who knows? We'll find out.
What a great show.
I feel like if we're talking about movie intros, it would be remiss of us to not mention what I think might be the seminal movie intro for Star Wars. Literally changed the way people in filmmaking approached credits and the introduction of their film.
Yeah. Well, wasn't it that you had to have the credits at the start
Yeah,
through union rules, and George Lucas just said,
because
I
he
want
decided
to have words crawl up the screen.
Yeah, I want to have my opening crawl, so I'll use an entirely non-union crew.
What a man.
Yeah, George Lucas, what a man.
Not a great... okay filmmaker, much better merchandiser.
Oh, absolutely.
He's a pretty great filmmaker before 1990. I mean, you consider him involved in... He's, producer on all of the
That's
Indiana
true,
Jones films.
yeah.
That's two of the biggest franchises ever. But he was directly involved with Spielberg making it. The reason, the terrible fourth one has aliens in it is because George Lucas wanted aliens in
Really?
Indiana
Was that
Jones
him?
from the start.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted the original Indiana Jones. He wanted it to be either about a haunted house or about aliens.
There is something about them after the post-90s George Lucas where something just didn't go right. Like, he just got lost, or he had some kind of fever dream for the next, decade.
He misplaced his chin.
He did. But he tried to draw it on with a beard and it didn't work.
We have only the shadow of a chin.
Yeah. Somewhere,
In a galaxy far, far away.
It went a long time ago.
That's a good point, though. If he had used union crew and union directors and things like that, would we have gotten a different film than the original Star Wars? Because wasn't it the third one that was supposed to be directed by Spielberg, but then there was some
Something or other.
mix up.
I don't know. I've never heard this before.
Yeah. Well, as far as I know, it was that there was some mix up with episode 6. Some scheduling conflict. Spielberg was supposed to direct it, but something went wrong. I think maybe that would have been a much better film. I mean, I like Jedi. That's one of my favourite ones, but it could have been Spielbergian.
I think what happened to George Lucas after the 90s was just a serious lack of Lawrence Kasdan. Because Lawrence Kasdan directed Empire Strikes Back, which I know you disagree with this, Harry, but this is the best Star Wars film.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he
yeah.
helped. I'm pretty sure he was one of the writers on A New Hope. I don't think he did anything for Return of the Jedi, which is probably the weakest of the original three, and he definitely didn't do anything on the prequels. And then Force Awakens comes out, and he's the writer again, and you kind of go, oh, there's hope. There's hope for this.
There's hope.
It's a new hope.
It's a new hope.
That's the biggest problem with A Force Awakens. It's just a new hope over again. And I don't mind that, because it just means, hey, I'm promised more good Star Wars. But also, I was thinking about this recently. I don't know if you mentioned this, Shay, but it was, again, we might suffer another Boba Fett character with this Captain Phasma lady.
Yes.
And
looks really cool. Doesn't really do anything.
And why wasn't she the one that fought Finn? You know, there was the guy with the mace and the shield.
See. Yeah, that would have been quite cool.
Why couldn't it have been her? Because that's why it would be. Then she would have a reason to, and the audience would understand the reason for him being called traitor, more than him just being like some guy.
I wonder how much of her they had, because that's Gwendolyn Christie, Brienne of Tarth.
Yeah.
And 10 episodes of Game of Thrones, or however much she has to film every year, must take up a big chunk of her year.
She was in quite a lot of them this season as well, wasn't she?
Yeah. So I wonder how much time they actually had to film with her, and maybe they thought, if we got her to do this fight scene, we're going to need her to train to fight like we want her to in this, and blah blah blah, and it's going to be a lot easier if we can just have her wander about in a cool looking costume for this film.
Maybe, but if they, let's say hypothetically, they did want her to do that fight scene with Finn,
sure,
and using a sword and shield, which is basically like a sword or like a mace and a shield thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like a nightstick, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, it's not dissimilar to just like fighting. Well, it's obviously not the same as fighting with a sword and shield, but it's not dissimilar.
Sure.
And she did fight well as Brienne of Tarth against the Hound.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that, like, very brutal fighting. I don't see. She's obviously been trained. I just don't know why. Maybe it is just a lack of time. Maybe she had to shoot back off to Northern Ireland or something.
Everything's filmed in Ireland these days.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff is, yeah.
I think, like, one of the things that I do quite like about that scene, though, in The Force Awakens, is that we kind of get to know that the stormtroopers are able to recognise each other just off the cuff, you know, just as people under the armour. You know, to each other, they are recognisable across a battlefield.
Important that they're... Obviously, we don't know if that would be the same for like Imperial Stormtroopers rather than First Order Stormtroopers.
Sure.
First Order's a lot smaller.
They're not clones.
They're not clones. A lot of the Stormtroopers weren't clones at the end of it anyway.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
If you watch
true.
obviously the originals, they're definitely not clones.
Hmm.
I mean, that was one of the things from that Star Wars Battlefront 2 that they explained. You know, that was where I learned about that, where it was the sort of, and they started to introduce non-clones for whatever reason. For whatever canonical reason, I've forgotten.
Wasn't it that the clones like just didn't live as long?
The clones had they had accelerated aging to get them onto the battlefield quicker.
Right.
Which meant that they also ended up being taken off the battlefield quicker.
Yeah.
It mentions in one of the visual encyclopedias that I used to really like as a kid. In the third one, Revenge of the Sith book, it mentions that a lot of the like Coruscant firefighting teams are retired clone troopers. Because by that point they've been in the war for a couple of years and they're starting to get a bit haggard.
So they're like Mr. Meeseeks, basically.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Life is suffering for a clone.
The Clone War is an eternity in clone time.
I've been alive for 10 years. An eternity in clone time.
I tell you what, speaking of introductions, Rick and Morty has a pretty spectacular intro sequence.
That is a pretty great intro sequence.
It is pretty fun. Yeah.
The fact that it includes stuff from throughout the season at the start of the thing.
Yeah.
I love that there are whole sort of theories about where they are and what dimension you were in for that episode, just based on what's in that intro.
Yeah.
Like the bit where you see Rick abandoning a Morty on a planet.
To be eaten by the big frogs.
To be eaten by the big frogs leads to, like, there's a theory that evil Morty is that Morty that he abandoned,
Right.
and that
yeah.
the Rick that you're seeing with the Morty for most of it is the one that abandoned him, and now he basically just feels really guilty about it.
Yeah. And I thought that was used to really good effect when they introduced Mr. Poopy Butthole into the opening sequence. It was like, he's always been here.
Yeah.
They told us that he wasn't a parasite at the start because he's always been there. Oh, that's such a good episode as well.
That is a great episode.
There's that moment in the... I can't remember his name. The dad. Jeff? No. What's his name? The dad in Rick and Morty.
Oh my god, I'm blanking on it.
Completely blanked, yeah. What is his name?
It's not Gary, because
No, but
that's
that's
Sleepy
all I
Gary.
can think of is Sleepy Gary. I'm gonna Google it. That's what's
not
happening.
Sure.
It's not Jeff.
But there's that episode...
It's definitely not Jeff.
I don't know why I
What
thought
is
Jeff.
his name?
His name is Jerry.
Jerry!
Of course
There
it's
we go.
Jerry.
It's when there's the Jerry daycare.
It's Mr.
Jerry
It's
Daycare.
Jerry-
Mr. Crowbar.
Yeah, Jerry daycare episode. And
I know how to
Two-
crawl through a tube.
there's two Ricks and they bump into each other
Yeah.
and
They take the wrong...
they take the wrong one, and that's
Yeah.
where they reckon the switch happens.
Right.
Um,
Not
we,
the Cronenberg
we
universe.
no, we swap out of the Cronenberg universe into a different Rick and Morty universe.
Right.
We follow where the ticket that we're following. We're
Yeah.
following the ticket, not the Rick and Morty, and so
Yeah, I see.
we go into that universe rather than that one. We escape the Cronenberg universe,
Oh, I see. Right.
and it's like the whole thing. Like there isn't an infinite universe of Ricks in Rick and Morty.
Because they have a measured continuum of evil.
Rick.
They have that
Yeah.
thing that's
And-
called the central finite curve, is what they always
Yeah.
talk about in it. He
Yeah.
always brings that up, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's a good point, yeah.
It's like there's a bit where you see the Rick that we're following is right next to Evil Rick.
Yeah.
If it was infinite,
There would be an infinite number of Ricks in between those
course,
two
yeah.
Ricks, sure.
and yeah, how do you think? I guess speaking of intros, how do you think the intro of the next season of that's going to be? Because I want it to be Pass the Butter and the
Past the what?
Pass the Butter, and then the Pass the Butter robot comes and saves Rick.
Oh. Yeah, that'd be pretty good. I like that. I hope that Bird Person
purpose.
is still alive.
Yeah.
well, I mean, obviously, in the sense of loads of different dimensions, Bird Person's obviously some version
Sure.
of Bird Person is alive.
But the fact that Rick has this kind of noted history with Bird Person and Squanchy kind of
Squanchy.
kind of suggests to me that maybe their past together is interdimensional.
Yeah.
So maybe Bird Person and Squanchy are kind of stars to chart by if we're tracking Rick through dimensions.
I suppose, but one of the things I quite like about the whole idea of there being loads of different dimensions is that you don't know from the point where you realise that you could be watching a Rick from a different dimension. You don't know that Rick and Morty isn't from a different dimension in
Sure.
every single episode. I quite like that. I quite like the
suppose
idea
so,
that
yeah.
it could just be a random,
Yeah.
non-linear thing that they've just done. I mean, obviously, that's clearly not the case because in the second series you can see like the crack from where
Yeah.
the house has moved, but I like the idea that it's possible.
When the house moves, that's one of my all-time favourite characters is Abradolf Linkler.
Abradolf Linkler is pretty great.
His line, "Prepare to be emancipated from your own inferior genes," is incredible. I think one of my favourite introductions from anything is from the Nicolas Cage movie Lord of War. You kind of follow a bullet going from kind of its creation in a factory. It goes a lot like the camera is centralized on the bullet, goes through this factory, is shipped off and sold through a selection of kind of very militaristic looking thuggish guys, and before being inserted into a gun and fired into the head of a child soldier. And it's I can't remember what the song is. Is it All Along the Watchtower or?
I have to be honest, I've not seen this film. I mean,
Have you not?
I've
Oh.
seen the intro, but
There's a really good.
Yeah.
There's a very appropriate. I think it was an anti-Vietnam War song playing over this whole sequence, and it's so good. It's such a good setup for a career highlight performance from Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
which I understand isn't saying much, depending on where you stand on Nicolas Cage.
I love Nicolas Cage because he's one of those actors which really just treats acting as a job.
Sure.
It must have stopped being an art form some time ago for him. He's making a paycheck. He's buying castles. He doesn't have the money for the castles, so he has to do more films. We're going to get an infinite number, or until he just dies, of Nicolas Cage films that are subpar and terrible but great because they're Nicolas Cage films. Because he just needs to keep buying castles.
I quite like the... whenever I think of
And
Nicolas
that's the man
Cage...
we're dealing with in these films.
Nick, I'm afraid we can't afford to platinum coat your pet snake. That's okay, I'll do another Rapture movie.
Yeah.
Whenever I think
Wicker
of
Man 3, go on.
Get me Ghost Rider.
Whenever I think of Nicolas Cage now, I just think of that Community episode where Arbed has a breakdown over whether or not Nicolas Cage is a good or bad actor.
I'm a sexy cat.
Nobody knows, though. Nobody knows if he's good or bad.
Is he good or bad? He is an Oscar winner.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean much.
Is he?
He
Yeah.
is
For
Oscar
what?
winner.
Raising
Nicolas
Arizona, I
Cage.
think.
No.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did not know that.
I've heard it said, this is apocryphal, but I've heard it said that some other actors consider him to be one of the best actors of his generation, which calls into question.
That's been a terrible generation of actors.
I've also heard this, but I'm not sure if it's you that has told me this.
It might have been, yeah, you might just be repeating my love of Nicolas Cage, but
He's lovable.
I don't know, I think maybe...
Jareth is very sadly looking at his empty bottle of Leffy.
Oh. It's fine.
Other beers are available. Unless we want to, like, plug Leffy. I don't know. Is it good?
It's pretty good.
Pretty great.
Drink
Yeah.
Leffy. Drink
Oh, okay.
Leffy.
Yeah.
Unless you can get your hand on some delirium, in which case, don't worry.
With Leffy
It's
though,
piss water.
you can feel fancy with a £2.55 bottle that comes with a cork.
Ooh.
Then pop it out.
And that name, Leffy.
Leffy.
It's so deliciously foreign.
I didn't for the
So
longest time.
deliciously foreign.
Every time I much like yourself, Harry. Every time I first started like ordering Leffy at bars, I just did not know how to pronounce it. So, do I go for Leffy again, or do I want to try calling it
Leff.
Can I have a leaf,
Yes.
please?
or Leafy?
Leafy.
Can I have a Leffy, please?
A Leffy.
I suppose it depends on what country you think it's from.
I didn't know until I got a bottle of it. I always used to get it in like a pint glass or something.
I suppose if it's German, you just have to yell it.
Yeah, it's Belgian.
Belgian, okay. Swamp Germans.
What?
Swamp
Oh.
Germans, or Swamp Germans, or Swamp French.
Swamp French. A little bit of both.
They are crossed over,
They're like... Belgium is like the beach of France.
but it has
think
much
it's-
better beaches.
I think Belgium
That's where all the
is
French people go to the
more...
beach.
I think Belgium is more like where the French go when they have colds and flus, isn't it? They sort of
Why?
go-
Because they're quite Flemish.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Did I just steal your joke?
Sort of. I was kind of just
Sorry.
leaving it there. I just wanted I wanted people wanted to be guilt on its own, but
Oh, that's
you explained it away.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
very,
That's
very
so good. Oh, I love a pun.
Going back to film introductions, something
Sure.
that I assume basically everyone in the world has seen at this point, Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
I realise that is an introduction that lasts for 30 minutes, but
Yeah, are we talking about the walking through the war graves or the beach invasion?
I suppose if we're talking very, very start of it and the introduction being walking through the war grave, that's fairly forgettable. I kind of don't think of it as starting until they're on the landing boats and you've just
Yeah.
got them all standing around, and then
Bang.
bang, battle.
I will take the hit of my street cred and say that I have not seen Saving Private Ryan.
Well, you should.
That's like one of those films where you say, "Oh, I haven't seen that film." You're like, "Really? It's impressive you haven't seen that film because it's so saturated."
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, I understand the references and things. I've seen I've seen other things. I've seen so many homages and
At
references.
least we get Vin
callbacks.
Diesel's in it.
Vin Diesel being in it.
Vin Diesel's in it?
He's good, actually.
He's
as
good.
well. I mean, he's not in it very much. He's in it for maybe like 8 minutes of screen time.
Right, okay.
But he's good.
It's a good 8 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I've never really paid much attention to war films.
No, it's just something about it, and it's 3 hours long. It's, by all accounts, it should be too long, and it should be jarring, but it's not. It's just
You get
brilliant.
sucked
It's
into
just
it a
brilliant.
little bit. It's very good at bringing the audience in.
It's
As
like
opposed to...
Tip Top Spielberg.
Oh, is it Spielberg?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, fair.
The story. I don't know how true any of these stories are, but the stories of when it came out was that World War II veterans had sort of PTSD episodes after watching the opening of Spielberg, of Saving Private Ryan, because of how realistic the battle was. Again, I don't know how true that is, but those are the stories.
Well, that's
That's the kind of stories you hear about, like, just generic horror films. Like, it's the scariest movie of the year, or like people watched it and they vomited in the theatre. And
Well, they love
4 screams out of 5.
yeah,
studios love saying that about their films. Like, oh, it's so shocking that people left the screenings, and people at Cannes walked out. It's like, yeah,
Maybe-
because it's Deadpool.
Yeah.
And he's got
Maybe they left
unicorn wanking jokes in there. Of course they left. They're
Maybe-
old French blokes.
maybe they left not because your film's scary, but because it's bad.
Because it was terrible.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Adverts with like night vision camera footage of audiences screaming
Yeah.
bugs the hell out of me. Instant turn off. Not interested in your film, mate. Sorry.
Why don't there's all the adverts for the new Blair Witch film that's coming out, and
There's a new Blair Witch film.
it's called Blair Witch.
Of course, classic reboot style.
And the adverts are
It's not a
telling.
Oh.
No,
It's
it's a direct sequel, but
Oh.
the adverts are telling me that it's like the start of a new horror thing, and that I won't sleep for a week. And I just kind of think, I really want to sleep.
like
I
sleep.
can't put aside a week of sleeplessness into my work life.
I have to get up at 6 a.m. every day. I can't be doing that.
I need my sleep.
No film was worth that.
Especially not a remake or a reboot or whatever it is of the Blair Witch.
Has there been any horror films that you've seen that has actually kind of stayed with you that long?
Oh, I'm terrible with horror films.
Really?
Hate them.
You don't like?
I don't like horror films
No,
either.
they scare me
because
too
they
much.
stay with you.
Because they're just too scary.
Right. I think
Wreck though.
Wreck.
Wreck
That one's
is
yeah.
amazing.
Wreck's pretty good.
I know we're talking introductions, but the end of Wreck,
yeah, the end of Wreck is pretty spectacular.
the introduction of the Madeira girl at the very end of Wreck.
Is that her name?
Good
Yeah.
remembering her name. I always think of her as the skinny one.
The skinny, scary one.
the bloke in the sort of anorexic woman costume.
That is that's a genuinely scary concept as well. The whole like lights on and lights off thing. That's like a.
That's the Wreck 2, yeah, the whole lights off, lights on, lights on.
Oh, is that the
lights off
second
thing.
one?
That's really good. Well, the end of Wreck, they're sort of wandering around her apartment, or the apartment of the priest that was trying to exorcise
It's right at the
her.
top, isn't it? You know, the loft.
Yeah, and then all the lights cut out, and you just see it through the night vision, and she's sort of at the end of a corridor, dragging her hammer.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not until the second one that you get an actual like technical explanation of the
I've
but I
only
thought
seen
it was
the
really.
first one.
Wreck
I
2
thought
was
it was
good.
really cool.
I've not watched any of the others after that. I think they got a bit stupid.
Does that
Teen
mean-
movie horror-y.
Does that mean you don't? Does that mean you don't know how she works?
No.
She only exists when the lights are off.
What?
Yeah. So like, she's like going through all this stuff. Like the reporter lady, you know.
She's still alive?
It all gets
Sort of.
gets a bit complicated.
She turns up about halfway through the second film.
Yeah, she's looking through this room. The protagonists are looking through this room, and they're like trying to like find. It's a door, isn't it? They're trying to find this door.
They're trying to find a door, yeah.
And they turn the light off, and when the lights are off, the doorway is there, and when the lights are on, it's not there, and it's like the literally isn't there. And the woman is the monster woman is the same. When you turn the lights on, she's not there anymore. You can walk around and walk through her and all that stuff. But then when you turn it off again,
She's there.
there and she can beat you to shit. It was such a good concept.
I think what really got me with that is that most horror films I've watched that I've been scared at, I've been scared at or I've been made to jump.
Yeah.
That watching when she first appeared at the end of that corridor was the first time I remembered being generally just creeped out at what this thing was that was moving around on screen and just being really, really weirded out about what was going on. It wasn't like a sort of, oh, I'm going to get jump out or something horrible's going to happen or someone's going to die. It was literally what is that? What is happening? It was just zombies a minute ago.
The revelation that the zombies are just like a minion,
Yeah.
Well, it was all possession based, and I'd never seen a zombie film go down that route before, and it was just genius. It was just genius.
For me, that moment of realization where you get something on screen that genuinely affects you in a way, you kind of get almost like a body horror, like a revulsion kind of reaction to it, was the movie Splice.
Right.
I knew you were going to say Splice.
Oh my god.
I hate that film.
Splice freaked me out for weeks afterwards.
That film was so odd. It's just odd.
It leaves you, at the end of the film, it leaves me with an empty feeling in my gut. It's ooh.
There's a very, very disturbing cross-species rape scene in that
Exactly. Film. It kind of taps into the same thing as the original Alien for me.
There's definitely a lot of influence from it, and with Alien especially, it's obviously H.R. Geiger's art direction is all vaginal based.
Sure, everything's a penis and it will kill you.
Everything's a penis. You're probably the vagina. You're not gonna have a fun time.
I remember trying to explain that to someone who I was trying to explain the whole sort of it's all of Alien is a little bit about rape to someone who just was not getting that at all.
No.
And I remember feeling so very, very odd during that.
No,
seriously.
Feels like you're trying to convince them.
It's all about male fear of being raped and impregnated. No, okay, fair enough. No, you're right. It's just a freaky alien with a mouth inside its mouth. Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
it's definitely going to kill you. It's definitely just scary monster with a blade on its tail. Actually, yeah, the blade on its tail thing did just seem like an arbitrary monster attachment.
This happens too.
Also, it's got a weapon.
Was that in the first? Was that in Alien though, or was that added on later?
It had a tail.
It had a tail, and the tail was sharp.
But I
don't know that it was necessarily used as a weapon.
No, but that's an additional attack that they would just add later on. Oh, you didn't know it had this, but it does.
In the second film, they do it. In Aliens, they use
Aliens
it.
to Aliens is a very different films, though. Alien is very much a survival horror, whereas Aliens is a much more generic action.
Yeah, it's generic action.
Yeah.
Was it James Cameron?
James Cameron, yeah.
Game over, man. He's 70-something, James Cameron. Yeah. I didn't know that. I thought he was in his 50s or something.
Does he still hold the world record for the deepest manned submarine?
I think so, yeah. He went down into the Mariana Trench, didn't he?
That's pretty amazing. That's pretty cool.
Well, he's also, he is also the director of Terminator and creator of
Sure, yeah.
Terminator, and I know that going down into the deepest thing is cooler than that, but I mean, as a filmmaker, before Avatar and whatever with that, he was really, really impressive.
Yeah, I think he's still the highest grossing.
Yeah, well,
director,
it was Titanic and Avatar.
Yeah,
and there are other things as well, and both of those were the highest grossing films ever when they came out.
Yeah.
Actually, thinking of Alien reminds me of Ridley Scott and the opening of Gladiator, which again is another really big battle scene.
The big battle scene, or the fingers through the corn.
Well, the fingers.
That's how it ends as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very cyclical.
Yeah. Isn't that supposed to be he's dead at that point?
Yeah,
He's
dead.
supposed to be heaven.
He's heaven.
It's him, wandering through Elysium or whatever it is.
Elysium.
Whatever they call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good start. And you can kind of... now watching Gladiator is kind of awkward because all of the music was totally and utterly reused in Pirates of the Caribbean.
But made better The Pirates of the Caribbean music is so much better
It
than
is pretty
music from
spectacular.
Gladiator.
It is, but the composer, who I'm assuming is the same person,
It's not.
is it
Is
not?
it not? Oh, okay.
It kind of is. In Gladiator, it's guy who did the music for Inception, Hans Zimmer.
Hmm.
I thought it was the same.
No, in Pirates of the Caribbean, Hans Zimmer wrote it, but it's composed by some other guy.
Somebody else. Sure.
Mark somebody. So yeah, I think
Mark Zimmer.
Mark Zimmer.
Hans, long lost twin.
Maybe.
Hans' English brother.
Yeah. But yeah, it's apparently done by a different guy. I think Hans Zimmer had something to do with it.
Right.
But I think Pirates of the Caribbean sounds better.
It does.
Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one has a really cool intro, like the ship going through the fog, and then you come across.
Oh, that's a great
yeah. Where he washes up on his plank.
and you just like catch a glimpse of the Black Pearl.
Yeah,
That
that is
is
good.
that is a
Yeah.
fantastic intro to a film
It's
as
a
well.
great film.
Those are really solid films,
They are
actually.
so good.
So good. You just watch Johnny Depp and Jeffrey Rush banter for 4
Yeah.
hours and I'd be happy.
It's just like it just works so well. The first time I heard like you best believing in ghost stories, Miss
Yeah.
Turner, you're in one. It's like
Oh,
it's so
yeah.
cool.
The first film especially
Yeah.
is just brilliant. It's,
Yeah.
And to think that that's
Barbossa
all
is-
from a theme park ride, Disney World.
Yeah.
Music. Is
Barbossa is legitimately one of my favourite characters on screen.
Yeah.
He's so cool.
I remember.
At the end of the second film, where he
Okay.
shows up at the end, it's just like, oh my god!
That's the best cliffhanger.
Yeah, it was so good. I haven't been more excited for the next film to come out since like Thor's hammer at the end of Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So good.
One
I just knew it was him when you're coming down the stairs. As when you heard him
Yeah.
coming down the stairs, you was like, "That's Barbossa. That has
because
to be Barbossa."
the monkey
Yeah,
kind
the
of
monkeys
goes
go
off
over, yeah.
with the apple and everything. Yeah, that was wicked. That was very cool. When it comes to, I was going to say, I had another segue there, but again, speaking of Ridley Scott, and speaking of intros, I think the introduction to Prometheus is very cool.
The guy on the waterfall.
The introduction to Prometheus was amazing, and then the rest of Prometheus happened.
And then you're like, "This had nothing. This doesn't seem relevant."
Yeah, I suppose the rest of the film doesn't really hold up to it, but the first
But
scene...
yeah, I fully agree. Yeah, I remember sitting there in the cinema, and I know like the Prometheus, as the title came up, is the same thing as the same sort of title as how Alien comes up.
Sure,
in
sure,
the
yeah.
But having watched everything all the little bit that comes before it, and then that coming up on screen, I was just there like, this is impressive. This is going to be great. It wasn't, but
It was a good film, it just wasn't an Alien film.
It was a
I liked it.
raw, like most sci-fi, even though they just call themselves sci-fis, they're always like sci-fi adventure, sci-fi horror, sci-fi something. This just felt like science fiction. It just felt like a little bit of exploration going on.
Yeah.
They discover something. It just seemed very, in a good way, basic, but there were so many false promises and ifs and buts about what the film was actually going to be.
It's
That's
more
the main.
of
I think that's the main problem that people have with it more than anything else.
Definitely, yeah. It's not really a sequel to Alien or like
A prequel.
A prequel. It's got some DNA.
You've seen Lost, right? It's like one of those Flash sideways.
Yeah,
from
Flash
Lost.
sideways. Yeah.
What the fuck's that?
It's kind of, it's like a cousin to Alien.
Yeah.
It's in the same universe.
But is it Wayland Yutani that's taking them there? Is what?
It is,
Wayland
yeah,
Yutani
yeah.
or something,
It is.
isn't it?
Yeah,
you've
it's
got Guy
Wayland Yutani.
Pearce in really old person
Yeah.
makeup in it.
Yeah.
That's the
It's
actually
a,
think
it's
about
a waste of Guy Pearce.
That's the start of like a little spate of old people makeup in films, isn't it? That's the when they started to realise that they weren't restricted by their actors' ages anymore.
No.
Well,
We are
you
time.
say that, but I think Orson Welles' old person makeup in Citizen Kane is a lot better than
Oh really?
some of Leonardo DiCaprio's and J. Edgar. And it's there like, you've just got him and you've made him look a tiny bit fatter. I mean, Marlon Brando in The Godfather is 47 as he's playing Don Corleone. He's not that old, and he's playing someone in his 70s.
Sure.
And that looks a lot better than some of the old people makeup that I've seen in the last few years.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah.
That might just be because Marlon Brando had reached the point where he was an old fat mess at that point, even at 47. But
just a bit of a touch up.
That's just commitment to the role.
Yeah.
In the other direction, I've become really impressed by people's digital de-aging. In particular, Marvel's digital de-aging of, first of all, what was his name? The guy that played Hank Pym.
Yeah, Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas at the start of that film was de-aged pretty spectacularly, and then in Civil War they did Robert Downey Jr. as well. Admittedly, they have pre-existing images of those people as young people because they've been stars for however long, but still, that was very impressive. Go back a couple of years and you've got weird, the weird soulless eyes of Jeff Daniels. Not Jeff Daniels. Jeff Bridges in Tron Legacy.
Oh God, that film's really cool.
I like Tron Legacy, but every time you look at the fake version of Jeff Bridges, it's like, oh, your face is a horror mask.
This is not even Uncanny Valley. This is just,
Now I know why real Jeff Bridges is hiding from you. You've stolen his face.
How in the holy devil factory did you come from?
But then just a few short years later, and Michael Douglas in Ant-Man looks fantastic when he's young.
Yeah,
I could watch an entire film of just digitally de-aged
but
Michael
then,
Douglas.
Maybe Tron Legacy will become the same as how Tron was, and that Tron wasn't a very good film.
That's a good point. Yeah,
became like a sort of computer-generated imaging pioneer.
Yeah,
and maybe Tron Legacy will be seen as the same someday.
I liked how was it Tron that got disqualified for the special effects Oscars. It was going to be given it was going to be considered for an Oscar for special effects, but they said they used computers, so it was cheating.
Times there are changed.
Weirdly, Little Britain had quite a good intro. They had Tom Baker speaking over the top, doing the whole Britain.
Yeah, that wasn't bad.
Yeah, it's quite a voiceover. It was very memorable.
Yeah, that was a strange time in British comedy when Little Britain was considered... Didn't it win awards?
Definitely. It was just presented in a very unique way, I suppose. A lot of the time, with stuff like the Mitchell and Webb look, I suppose, it's just them in situations.
Sure, yeah. I suppose you don't get...
You've developed really strong characters because they got the introductions, and they obviously just revisited them each time over the episode, and the sketch was segmented. You'd go see a little bit, go away, come back. It was almost like they were doing a reference to those Channel 4 style documentaries. When they come into, Daryl has been having a hard time with his homework because he's got an arse for a face.
That was amazing.
It's always my favourite. This is from Channel 4's Let's All Laugh at the Freaks but Feel Good About
Channel
It
5,
series.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Channel 5, yeah.
The man was
Little
9.
Britain.
You think it makes you 9 times the man having 9 penises?
Little Britain. I mean, I'm not surprised really. I don't know what it's won it in. But Little Britain has won 28 awards.
28.
And 11 nominations.
Which is funny for a show that only has 6 sketches and 3 series.
That makes me sad.
Why?
I didn't like it. It's so repetitive.
Yeah, I think that was it. It was, for a series, it was quite funny, and then you realise it was the exact same jokes.
Every time it would be the same catchphrase that was, fine the first time. There's only so many times we can see David Williams making fun of the disabled.
It's good. It's good things as well, like the Royal Television Society and National Television Awards, International Emmys, British Comedy Awards, BAFTA.
BAFTA. Good grief.
BAFTA.
That always
Good
makes
quality institutions, Jay.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that always makes people quite sad, is when they hear that someone's ex has won a BAFTA. The only way is Essex has won a BAFTA.
Yeah.
Why?
What's the point?
Little Brennan has won a BAFTA.
They were. It was an institution.
Whatever happened to Father Ted? Oh yeah, he died.
He did die.
He did die. That's a real shame.
He died too young.
Well, but then he got into comedy really old, though. So I suppose, I mean, comparatively, in any case. But then, like, what about stuff like the IT Crowd? Did that ever get awarded? It must have done.
I
wouldn't
know
think so.
that Richard
Show
Ayoade
and-
won a BAFTA
Oh, he did.
in like 2013 for like the one-off final episode that they did.
Oh,
He won
right.
like best comedy performance or something.
Oh, that's good. Because that's a quality show that deserves recognition. That and Peep Show, some of the best Britain's ever produced, I think.
Peep Show was just fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know what else to say about it. It was just you can't. It's just brilliant.
Yeah.
There's one series of it where you kind of, the second to last series, you kind of think you should have finished this before now, and then
Right.
the last series was just really good again. And it was kind of like, okay, I'm glad I had to suffer through series 6 to get series 7.
Sure. One of my, funny enough, bringing it back round to intros, one of my favourite intros comes from one of the Simpsons couch gags, where the one where they keep zooming out, and it goes like from Homer to the house to the planet to the stars and the galaxies and the universe, and it comes out into like an atom and then a molecule and then a cell in Homer's head, and Homer just looks at the TV and goes, "Wow." The Simpsons couch gags are so good.
My favorite Simpsons couch gag, and it's not really a gag, is probably like the bleakest one, in that it kind of it shows the animation process basically. And
Oh,
it
right.
essentially goes to a Korean warehouse where loads and loads of Simpsons images are being drawn by like rows of Korean cartoonists, and you just kind of go, this is pretty grim and self-aware.
Yeah. They actually did a crossover with Rick and Morty, didn't they? With where they crash into them.
Yeah.
You killed the Simpsons, Morty.
Always surprises me how long it takes to make like an animated length show.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
in that new thing, Kubo and the Two Strings.
Yeah.
7 years.
What?
I think that's correct. I'm gonna
Oh
quickly
my
Google because if it's
God.
going on the internet, I need to be correct.
Well, when it's stop motion, that's sort of
I suppose so, yeah.
what you expect. I mean,
But then that means that they started working on Kubo before, I think, maybe all of their previous films except Coraline?
no, Coraline would have taken years and years to do as well.
Well, no, I know that that they would have taken that they all would have taken a long time to produce because they're all stop motion films. But
Right.
like in terms of release dates, they had to have been working on Kubo before anything else they made even hit the cinema.
But when you like hear about how long Pixar films take to make, they take 3 or 4 years to do as well. And like for the computer animated ones.
But that's computer animated.
Yeah, so stop motion takes. I don't know who makes Kubo.
On average, like in stop motion, 3 seconds would take an entire day
Wow.
to make. So for Kubo, for the animation, not including the music, the special effects, anything like
The
that,
voice, all
the
that
voice,
stuff,
all that kind of stuff, all of the extra everything, the actual production, the taking the image of it would take over 800 days.
Good grief.
Obviously, you can be doing stuff alongside that, but you can't know how something's going to look until the VFX is done, and then you don't know how it's going to sound until the VFX is done.
I'm just astonished at how much faith they have to have in their films, in their property, to, you know, considering that, I mean, what was the last one that Leica did? Was that Box Trolls? Or Paranorman?
Something like that, yeah.
But, like, I think it was Box Trolls. I think Box Trolls was last year. So, Box Trolls, they couldn't know that their movies were going to do well until they were already a couple of years into making them.
Well, that's why right now film is just saturated with superhero films, is because they know superhero films sell loads and loads of tickets.
So,
Superhero films, remakes, reboots.
People,
Sequels,
doing something
prequels.
original and interesting is risky. It's just inherently risky, whatever you're doing. I mean, even if you were to do even if you think about Chronicle, which is about superheroes,
yeah,
it's still fairly original and fairly interesting.
Yeah.
And a much bigger risk than just going, well, we've managed to get the rights to X-Men, so let's stick that out.
Let's have Spider-Man for the third time.
Yeah, let's have a new Spider-Man film. Because we've got the rights to that, and we know that's going to make a profit.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, which is why I'm quite excited for that Russian one, Guardians. The one with the man who's a bear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's not
cool.
based on anything. That's not like a comic book or anything. I mean, it's largely derivative of like comic book tropes. You know, it's kind of a Fantastic Four style element thing. But it's also like, apparently each of the heroes is supposed to represent a part of like a region of Russia.
Okay.
Which is quite cool. I feel like it's a...
Well, in some places like the Siberian one, they'd be very cool.
Well, that's the bear guy. Is Siberia.
That's the joke.
Oh.
It's cool.
It's
That's
cool.
That's the joke.
Cool in Siberia. Oh dear.
I'm kind of interested now in what the next sort of massive raft of filmic stuff will be, because I mean obviously at the minute it's superhero films.
Sure.
With Star Wars coming back, I guess the next one will probably be years and years of Star Wars and various other derivative sci-fi films.
Ooh, we could get a sci-fi renaissance.
That
could be pretty cool.
It could be, but soon I'm feeling a little bit of superhero fatigue, so I'm imagining that soon, I don't know, maybe not everyone else is, but I'm imagining that soon that's going to start to peter out a little bit.
Yeah, I am concerned that the glut of DC, the glut of poorly informed DC films are gonna burst the bubble of the quite well-made Marvel ones. I mean, given I am a bit of a Marvel fanboy, but
At the same time, I think DC films may be getting a bit of a harder rap just because they don't have the same length of setup as Marvel films.
yeah, sure.
And that maybe a sort of average DC film that would, a film that's at the same level as a sort of mid-level Marvel film,
yeah,
if it was DC, would get more harshly criticised.
like
But
5
because-
years ago, it would have been better received.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Yeah.
Because, I mean, Batman v Superman is definitely a lot better than the Green Lantern. So
Sure.
they have up to their game.
Yeah, I was about to say, well, then they shouldn't have been spending their time making the Green Lantern 5 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I can see what you're talking about. Like, kind of this feeling of like every second film that comes out is a superhero movie, even the new ones that we haven't seen before. Like Doctor Strange is going to be a pretty interesting property. It's not really something that we've seen before on screen, but at the end of the day, it is still a comic book movie, and he is still comes under the category of superheroes.
Exactly, yeah.
He's gonna team up with the Avengers, you know. So even when you get kind of off the wall things, Guardians of the Galaxy was another one. You know, Guardians of the Galaxy could have if it hadn't have been connected to Marvel, it still would have been a cool sci-fi film.
Guardians of the Galaxy is a bit of a weird one for me in that I don't really associate it with the rest of them because,
Sure.
I mean, some of them have powers and are a bit superhuman, but they don't really feel like superheroes in that, I guess because it's in a sci-fi setting.
Yeah.
So it just feels like...
But they're gonna team up with the Avengers.
They are, yeah. Infinity War is going to happen. Parts 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And...
For some reason. This is a fad that I'm really disliking, is the splitting up. Don't say you're splitting it up. Don't say part 1, part 2.
Yeah.
Just call it 2 different
Just
films.
cool. Make it two different. Yeah.
Yeah, what's the point? You're not going to then, like... You might release it as a box set, but box
Yeah.
sets already exist. You don't need to have a part 1, part 2 box set.
I think it works for some things. I quite liked how the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah,
the
that
last
makes-
Harry Potter movie was split into one that was just full
Yeah.
of them camping, and the second one was just a 2-hour
I
battle scene.
I liked the Harry Potter one as well, actually, because I remember watching the first part of the last Harry Potter film and thinking, this is actually just a good film. Like, this is the...
Well, the Deathly Hallows Part 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one everyone's down on because it's the most boring one. But I was actually... I
thought
remember
that was
watching
the
it.
one with, character development.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and-
It was the one I spent the most time of all of the Harry Potter films going, this is actually good.
Yeah.
I like
Character
this.
developing, and it does leave you sufficiently hyped for the big finale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that one being split because it was a very, very big book and it had a body beforehand.
Yeah.
It's stuff which...
Mockingjay, part 1 and 2.
yeah.
That was a book as well,
Yeah.
but that book is a lot smaller than...
Is it whatever the last Twilight book was called? That one
Oh,
got
Breaking Dawn.
That got broken up into 2
Yeah.
films, neither of which were any good.
But Infinity War, I haven't seen the comic books for it yet, but comic books by size comparison and, I don't know, like, episodes of
Sure.
how big they are.
Well, I mean, the...
Even if it does need to be split into 2, just call it something else.
Yeah, well, I think that's what they're doing at the moment. They've decided that it's not going to be Infinity War Part 1 and 2. It's going to be... One of them is going to be called Infinity War, and then the second one is going to be called something else, but they haven't announced that yet. Which does make sense, because the original comics, that's kind of like a couple of big events in a row. There's like the finding of and collection of these Infinity Stones and the Gauntlet and the threat of Thanos and all that stuff. And then the second part is him actually starting to fight people.
I reckon that
Infinity War and Infinite Conflict.
Infinity War will be the first one, and the second one will be called something like Thanos Rises, and it will be 2 hours of Thanos getting out of his chair.
Thanos literally rises. Thanos stands up.
Yeah.
Well, I think the second one. I think there was one called the Thanos Imperative, which was essentially Thanos, kind of like the story of how Thanos became Thanos, because he doesn't look like anyone else from his planet.
Okay.
That's what comic book films need, a more origin
More
stories.
complicated, yeah.
They need, if anything, they just need like villains you care about, rather than Ooga Booga, I am the person who's going to destroy the world now.
Yeah.
I've been vanquished. No.
Hello, I'm Christopher Eccleston with some ears on. I'm an evil man.
I'm going to say all my lines in a foreign language, a made-up foreign language.
I could have hired
I'm going to make it so
anyone.
you
Yeah.
cany relate to me in any way.
Oh, and now they've burnt half my face, so I need prosthetics on.
I'm dead.
No, I'm dead.
I'm going to go, me and Ronan are going to go sit in the corner and throw bricks at each other.
Yeah, it was Lee Pace, wasn't it, for Ronan? That's a bit of a waste
But
as well.
it doesn't matter about the waste of actors. It's just a waste, if anything, for the whole. There's so many actors in that universe
Yeah.
that even if it is Christopher Eccleston and whoever else,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It's more of just a waste of character.
I suppose they're just maintaining a certain level of acting talent, aren't they, across the board?
Speaking of Christopher Eccleston and going all the way back to intros,
Sure.
28 days later.
Yeah.
Haven't seen it.
Oh, Cillian Murphy wandering around abandoned London after waking up in a coma
Oh, yeah.
and having no idea what's going on. Totally ripped off by The Walking Dead.
That was
in both forms of its meaning.
Literally, isn't it? He wakes up in a...
He wakes up in a coma, he wanders around an abandoned hospital, then an abandoned town, and
Then someone's across the zombies.
then zombies turn up.
and
Right.
then zombies
Literally a total rip-off. But 28 days later, when you first see that, him standing on Westminster Bridge, the House of Parliament, and all
Right,
rubbish
yeah.
everywhere, and you're just kind of going, what's happening? And he goes into a church, and it's just littered with like, well, I know they're not zombies in that, they're people with
Sure.
rage virus. It's littered with zombies.
like you can tell that they're zombies at first, or they're just corpses at first.
Just laying
And then
down.
They're
they
just
turn up.
corpses, and then a priest starts like coming towards him, and he's trying to talk to him, and then he starts like
Oh.
running at him to attack him.
Oh, shit.
because they're running zombies.
Yeah, I know that was the start of the running zombies.
It's the horrible thing. I can't remember who the name of the dad is in it, but when he's like go through at the farmhouse, he looks up and there's like
Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah.
Mm.
there's like a zombie like dead in the roof, He looks up at it, and like a drop of blood from the zombie like falls off him into his eye,
Yeah.
and it's transferred by like blood.
Oh, I see.
And
okay.
dependent on like blood type or
Right.
how it's transmitted, that's how quickly it turns you.
I see.
That
Because
was
it's like straight into the brain.
And he just like
basically.
turns around and is like,
And his daughter's there, and he's like, and he said, "I'm so sorry," and then starts going, "Rah."
Jesus.
I realised that actually that's not the exact start of 28 Days Later either. That's what I remember it as. But the exact start is them. It's like animal activists breaking chimps out of a.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
scientific
Right.
Did you hear about the
So-
alternate ending? Of
Is that the
28
one?
Days Later.
Is that the one with where the ending? It's like there's a plane. There's like a commercial plane going across, and it turns out that the rest of the world is fine. They've just quarantined England.
Yeah.
And said fuck
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
In
That's
a-
pretty cool. I like that.
There's an alternate ending where Cillian Murphy goes to the monkey lab at the beginning of the film,
Right.
and is like, it's almost like a Jesus sacrifice kind of thing. Sacrifices himself for science reasons and is able to like reverse engineer a cure for the rage virus for somehow, but has to like die via rage monkeys.
He meets the original rage monkey.
He meets Caesar. And,
It's just there's a monkey in a cage infected with a rage virus. He just turns around and says, "Hello, Cillian."
yeah.
To be honest, though, that was the ending of what was that film? Oh my god, had Willem Dafoe as like a vampire hunter with
Daybreakers.
Daybreakers. Yeah, I quite liked Daybreakers, but that was
I
basically
enjoyed it, but it was rubbish.
that was that was basically the end of that, wasn't it? Like
You
somebody was cured and you got
you cure vampirism by being exposed to just enough sunlight.
holistic vampire
You
cure.
burn it off.
But then, if you had been cured and then you got bitten, it cured the person that bit you. So it had like a viral cure as well as a viral.
Yeah.
And then it had like there was a scene at the end where it's just like, oh, we've reached the end of our film and we've still got all this blood to use up. So let's just throw it fucking everywhere. I quite liked that one. So just as introductions was our theme. Let's bring it to a close.
No, that's not an introduction.
Jay,
Let's introduce the finish.
Jay, that is not a helpful attitude.
Oh, I'm just saying.
I'm trying to do a thing here, man.
You are. I realise we haven't mentioned an introduction that I want to talk about. That
Go on.
is Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction. Remind me.
Them just sitting in that restaurant talking about.
Oh my god! Yeah, of
Well,
course.
I realised that Jareth is probably like inwardly cringing because of the whole film student.
Yeah.
Oh, always Pulp Fiction.
Oh, it's gonna be Fight Club next. Yeah.
But you know,
I'm not saying anything.
Pulp Fiction does have a pretty good start though.
That is pretty good.
That's with Honey Bunny, isn't it? Honey
Yeah.
Bunny and Tim Roth.
and then but
That's the
again,
character's name. Honey Bunny and Tim Roth.
Honey Bunny and Tim Roth. But yeah, that's really good. That's another one of those ones that you just sort of
That is very cool.
2 hours later you're back in the same spot.
Yeah.
And you see how those guys got to that position.
Yeah.
Everyone got to
Yeah.
that position.
If those ones are kind of done where it's like, oh, we've done something terrible and this is how we got here,
Yeah.
those are always quite fun. I think Tarantino's quite good at those. He did a similar thing with Reservoir Dogs.
The conversation about the tip and everything. All right, cool. Well, I guess I'll edit this into something workable. I will first work out how to edit things.
Probably should have been a priority.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. It's fine. I've edited things before. I've just never used this program before. Well, if you've stayed with us this long,
Why?
Wow.
Why? What are you doing with your life?
You're a long commute or you're really lonely.
if you've stayed with us this long, you should probably get back to your essay.
If you stayed with us this long, please take a long, hard look at yourself.
Realise you are nothing better than 3 20-somethings at 2:30 in the morning on a Saturday.
You are listening to the semi-drunken ramblings of idiots.
And there's our episode title.
The semi-drunken ramblings of idiots. That's not bad.
It's not bad.
Sorry, actually.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, if you have reached us this long, thank you very, very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed at least some of what you've heard, and will hopefully tune in again next time. I feel like this has gone pretty well, actually, if I'm honest. We could do better to do some research.
I think more
First
structure.
More structure's good.
More structure.
Structure could be good.
Not like a hugely large amount of more structure, but
No. Just
a little bit more.
Some shepherding.
Yes.
Need the occasional come by. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Fancy doing it again sometime?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, the work thing is real, so it has to be on weekends.
Yeah,
But
absolutely, yeah.
otherwise, yeah.
The struggle is real.
The struggle is real. Life is suffering.
Anyone who makes a point of listening to this, you probably don't have to deal with that struggle yet, I would imagine.
Yeah.
If you are at university right now, the crushing reality of your life is yet to come. All of this seems very important to you.
3 very tired 20-somethings.
You know what I said about GCSEs being crushed down to one line?
The same's for the degree.
Oh no!
And with that, bye!